I can't think of a good way to say it. Maybe just ignorance. But I felt, when we would go to Washington seeking help for a water project that really is so necessary for the city of Santa Fe and our region to be sustainable in the way we use water, we were in the position of, we know you're not going to give us any help, but please don't hurt us. And it's a crazy place to be with your federal government, asking them to just, do the bureaucratic work and let us keep moving forward, and we don't expect you to help us. That was a bad position to be in, and I think citizens of the city of Santa Fe or any city should be able to expect the federal government to help them make their cities better. I try not to think about that. I'm for Senator Obama, and I feel like we don't have another 8 years to waste invading countries that aren't a threat to us, propping up the profits of oil companies, ignoring the problems of working families and middle-class families in the cities. I don't think we have the time. We need to provide the path to legalization for them. While we work on that, we need to stop these arbitrary raids in communities that result in the kinds of situations where you may be a native-born U.S. citizen, but your dad's undocumented, your dad's being deported, and you don't know when you're going to see him again. We can't have that in our communities and continue to provide safety, education, public welfare. That needs to be stopped. And the lack of action on immigration reform, coupled with overly harsh enforcement policies and raids in our community, breaking up families in Santa Fe and around the country, just given us more problems to deal with than what we should have to deal with. And the assistance and the partnership just hasn't been strong. We know what the right thing to do is. We have political leadership that wants to keep us from doing that because the division works for them, but it doesn't work for us, and most people know that. And if children are concerned that when their parents are picking them up from school, they might be arrested and deported, then you just lose functionality. And we've seen that a few times in our school system in Santa Fe. We had last year an arrest of a dad on trumped up charges in front of his kids, in front of the teachers. And that only has to happen a few times before it's very, very hard for our young people to get an education and be involved in class. Unfortunately, that's happened several times in Santa Fe, and it's happening around the country, where young children are wondering, is my mom going to be there when I get home? Is my dad going to be there when I get home? And I wish in the United States of America I wasn't working on this issue and saying this is happening here, but it's happening here. And again, I think it's an unfortunate byproduct of paranoia in terms of homeland security, and just a failure, abysmal failure to lead and to act on immigration reform. Santa Fe has a strong living wage ordinance, and we've kind of put out the message we're not interested in more low-wage jobs in Santa Fe where people work 2 and 3 jobs and live in poverty. We've had an aggressive affordable housing program in Santa Fe to try to make it possible for working people, the nurses, the police officers, the street maintenance workers, to live in Santa Fe. We're moving on a next step on that, on a workforce housing initiative where we will assess a fee on the sale of high-end homes over $750,000 in Santa Fe, which is a healthy, strong market, and we're really pleased to have those people at those incomes come to Santa Fe, but this fee then we put back into workforce housing so we can help that police officer, or we can help that teacher with a down payment on a house, so we can help that homeless person get into an apartment building in Santa Fe and start back into the productive life. The tax incentive is going away for solar and wind, and you have to scratch your head, how can that be? Why are we still subsidizing and incentivizing oil companies, and we won't incentivize a solar energy project? It's upside down. The cities, you need to help find those mechanisms for that investment in alternative energy and in energy conservation, so that middle-class families and working families aren't just hammered by the $4 gas and the $300 heating bills and the resulting unemployment that we see happening from a failure to have a reasonable climate protection policy and a reasonable energy policy.